simultaneous protests in multiple cities across multiple countries. That costs money, serious money. So who's funding this? Because this isn't really about Gaza. It's about tearing down every pillar of Western Christian civilization. Here's what should concern every Christian watching. Good evening. I'm James. We begin today with breaking developments from London, where police made 488 arrests during pro-Palestinian protests. This is the largest single-day arrest count related to these protests since they began. The arrests were made under the Terrorism Act for supporting proscribed organizations, specifically Hamas and Hezbollah. This comes just 48 hours after a terrorist attack at a synagogue in Manchester that left 2 Jewish worshippers dead. The knife attack began outside the synagogue, where worshippers barricaded the entrances. The attacker, identified as 29-year-old Al-Shami, was killed by police during the assault. Neighbors have since come forward claiming they've reported concerning behavior to Greater Manchester Police prior to the attack. One of Al-Shami's wives has reportedly told investigators he spoke about joining ISIS and forced her to watch extremist content. And keep in mind, this man was released on bail due to being arrested for rape.
I miss you a lot, right? And I'm crazy about you, and I can't stop thinking about you. And you're the only woman that I want in my life. You're the only woman that's ever made me feel like this before. The only woman I have a connection like this with. So, look, let me just see you and let's talk this out and let's sort this out once and for all.
At the protest, protesters were filmed chanting, "Long live the Intifada," and expressing support for Hamas operations. Several incidents were captured on video that have since gone viral. In North London, a woman was filmed cutting down yellow ribbons that had been tied to posts in remembrance of Israeli hostages still held in Gaza. When confronted, she refused to identify herself and called the person filming her disgusting.
What's your name? Feel so proud of yourself. What's your name?
No, you're not going to do this.
Not going to do what?
I'm not committing a crime.
Yes, you are.
You're doing something that is...
If I am, then call the police. You call the police and you let them know that you have an issue with this.
One protester, when asked about the Manchester synagogue attack, refused to comment. Another, when questioned about his views, was willing to express anti-Israel sentiment, but became silent when asked specifically about anti-Semitism.
The camera, my good sir.
Free Palestine, fuck Israel, It's good. Thank you.
And how do you feel? Recently there was an attack on a synagogue and...
I don't know, man. No speak about this. Thank you. No.
Home Secretary Yvette Cooper released a statement calling for calm and urging communities not to import international conflicts into British streets. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's office has called for people to take a step back, but has not specifically condemned the protests or the anti-Semitic incidents. Now, the official government position is that these are complex cultural and geopolitical issues requiring sensitive handling, that most protesters are exercising legitimate free speech, and that we should focus on community dialogue. Yes, that's their answer to this. Can you believe it?
39,000 children have lost one of both parents. Palestine is bigger and mightier than all of you, and we do not accept anything less than the dismantling of Israel and its settler colonial regime once and for all. Ridding this world of the Zionist death cult.
Did you notice something in all that footage? Look at their faces. Or rather, look at what's covering their faces. Masks everywhere, faces covered, identities hidden. John 3:19 says, "Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil." Early Christians faced lions rather than deny their faith. They stood in Roman courts with their faces uncovered and said, "Here I am." But these people, They hide. And I'll tell you why. Because they know what they're doing is wrong. Real conviction doesn't need a mask. Now, here's what nobody in government wants to address. This isn't grassroots. Look at the coordination. Matching signs, professional banners, transportation, communication networks. Every time there's even a small protest, the media covers it. That costs money, serious money. So who's funding this? When you see this level of organization, the exact same chance in London, New York, Sydney, this isn't organic outrage. This is orchestrated manipulation. So who's writing the checks? Foreign actors? Ideological billionaires with an agenda? Because somebody is coordinating this, and the people in the masks are just foot soldiers who don't even know whose war they're fighting. And here's what should concern every Christian watching. The Israel-Hamas conflict is winding toward a ceasefire. So what happens to all these activists? These movements don't dissolve, they pivot. We've seen the pattern. I mean, BLM, defund the police, pro-Palestine. What's next? And eventually, mark my words, they'll come for Christian institutions. Churches that preach biblical sexuality, schools that teach traditional values, ministries that refuse to bend the knee to cultural Marxism. Because this isn't really about Gaza. It's about tearing down every pillar of Western Christian civilization. But let's get back to those masks. They hide their faces because they're violent. They hide because they intimidate. They hide because they break the law and don't want consequences. You know what that is? Cowardice. Rosa Parks didn't wear a mask. Martin Luther King didn't hide his face. The suffragettes put their names on their movement. When you stand for truth, you stand in the light. You own it. You put your name on it. But when you're serving an agenda you don't even understand, when you're someone else's useful idiot, you hide. You cover your face. You become anonymous. Because deep down, you know you're wrong. And this isn't a "I'm better than you" contest, but rather a comparison to who they want to destroy and what we represent. We stand in the light. Romans 13 commands us to respect the authorities God has established to maintain order and justice. We ask the hard questions about who's funding this. We demand our law enforcement to protect our communities. We expose the coordination and the agenda. And we recognize what this is: an assault on God's design. Acts 17 tells us God established the boundaries of nations. He established order. He established law. When masked cowards attack those foundations, they're not just attacking institutions, they're attacking God's design for civilization itself. And we will not be silent. The next time you see those masks, remember what they mean: guilt, cowardice, hidden agendas. And when they pivot to their next target, when they come for what you care about, will you stand in the light or will you let darkness win? That's all for today. I'm James, and thank you for tuning in.